Ni hao. What's up, Stephanie? Hey guys. Yeah, Changing Scripts. Welcome to the Changing Scripts Podtude experience, part podcast and part YouTube channel. The podcast is where I interview folks who are learning or have learned at some point in their life Mandarin Chinese. And this YouTube channel is where I expand on the interviews that I had, as well as where I talk about my own language learning experiences when I am learning. So let's talk about the podcast episode first. So released today is Taylor Barbieri. Taylor is so near and dear to my heart. We connected on Twitter probably within the first couple of months that I started to learn Mandarin Chinese, and she was one of those people who was really friendly in reaching out, suggesting resources, answering some of my burning questions. And if I remember right, I think she started watching this channel too. So it was really sweet to have someone so supportive from the beginning when I felt like such a failure not having learned a language at that point in my life. And I was like, okay, we're gonna fix this. And here come in the emotional reinforcements via social media and YouTube, and it was a beautiful thing. So she was there from the beginning. So it only seemed fit, especially when I learned so much of her language learning story, to interview her. And it took me a while because a secret moment. People that I really want to interview, I was trying to hold off until I could talk more in depth about the language. But since I am the slowest language learner known to man, I eventually just said, forget it, I want to have these conversations. And so I just started booking the people anyway, because I wanted to talk to them about this. I want to get their story. It doesn't matter how much I know, it matters how much they know. And I may not be able to bring out specific things from my own learning in these interviews very well, but their stories are really important, their language learning stories. And that's what we did with Taylor, and holy cow, there's so many things I learned about her. I do, like in most of these videos, want to focus on just two things though. Thing number one is absolutely brilliant. She mentioned that at some point in her language learning experience, somebody said to her, Taylor, you can't learn every language. You have to pick, and you have to think about who you can include in your family, in your language learning family. And I thought that was, or in your language family, I guess. I thought that was a really brilliant thing. I mean, I know we call like languages like a language tree. Is that what it's called? Language branch, language tree. Like we do an analogy to families, I think, because we do family tree. At least in English, we have that phrase. So it makes sense that we would call languages part of our family. But thinking of the headspace of how much, the headspace and the emotional space of having enough of those things to include people and include languages in your life is just such an awesome way to look at it. So many people online, and not to diss them, because I do think some people can learn languages quickly and easily and they just accumulate a lot of them. But in general, that was a really weird sound. Wow. In general, I think that it takes a lot of time and effort and upkeep for most of us. And I'm being generous when I say us, because I don't feel like I've upkept any of the languages I've tried to learn. But I'm going to be optimistic today, because it's a pretty day. I haven't done my turnaround yet. Oh gosh, it's lazy me. Here we go. Da 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 da. Anyway, so I thought it was brilliant that she brought that up, and so she's deciding. Well, we had the interview in December. I'm a little ahead of schedule with the interviews. So we had the interview in December. It's now April, mid-April. So I wonder, in the interview, she talked about wanting to pick her next language. And so we went into a fair amount of detail on which one she might pick and why. And I really need to follow up with her and figure out what she decided. Now, she also is in the middle of a geographic change. So I don't know if she's had the time to language focus at this point. But if you're on my Instagram or Twitter, then pay attention, because I'll be asking her that question sometime very soon. Very soon. Anyway, so that was it. So language is family, and how many people can you have in your family to take care of, to check in on, to just love. And and learn more about. She definitely at one point talked about wanting to learn a lot about the Chinese language. Like, it's a person that you love and you want to learn everything about them that you can, and that's how she felt about the language. And that's actually a beautiful unplanned segue, thank you Taylor, into the second point, which is Old Chinese, what did she call it? Old Chinese script, Old Chinese literature. I'm going to forget. Ancient Chinese literature. It's a little windy. Yay, go Shanghai. And it's funny because I'm so much more into like again, the dichotomy between the two of us is really, really fun. Like, I would really love to get to the point where I could be on social media in Chinese, and that's a lot of slang, a lot of blended kind of creative language that is far, far above me at this point, but that's kind of like my dream goal, whereas Taylor is actually very close to being able to at least start, if not successfully participate in her goal of reading these ancient Chinese texts. And so I think it's beautiful how different people's goals can be, and that conversation reinforced again how important it is to know what you want to do in a language and how individual language learning is, which is why as a former language teacher, I think it's really funny that we put people in a language room, a language classroom, and go, okay, I'm going to teach everybody this today, and everybody's going to get it today. And then, like, you know, if it's a university or something, you're going to be tested on this all at the same time, and we all learn at the same pace in the same way and have the same motivations. And I know it's just the dynamics of a classroom, but the more I talk to people about their language learning stories, the more I realize how individual they are, and how in the heck are language classrooms at all successful. I guess they're successful because some people really want to learn languages regardless of what happens in that classroom, and maybe those people use the classroom as the jumping off point to do the other things, or to supplement the other things that they're doing to get to their goal. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's I don't know, I want to do a gym analogy or something. Like, people that go to the gym a lot, that's not the only thing they do for their health, right? But going to the gym supplements what they're doing and helps them in a way that not going to the gym wouldn't, I suppose. Is that a good analogy? I really don't know. That's my analogy, not Taylor's. However, Taylor and I did talk for a very long time, and if you want to listen to the podcast about her and I and her language learning story, and of course I include tidbits of my own and questions of my own struggles with Mandarin Chinese and all that kind of good stuff, all the usual, you know, it's going to be down in the notes here, and I'll also leave her social media contacts there too. If you like what you hear and you want to reach out to her, then by all means do that. She is on social media, and she has a presence, and there is a rumor of a language learning podcast that she's going to do, so I need to check in with her on that and see how that's going as well. So there's a lot happening with Taylor, and she's so young and so experienced and so thoughtful about her language learning process. It's really, really inspiring to talk to someone like that, and someone who's very good at learning languages. It feels like someone who can learn and use the language in some sort of productive way, and then have them talk to somebody who's not. That patience I really, really appreciate, because sometimes when somebody is good at something, they're not very good at describing it, explaining it, or talking about it, and that is not Taylor at all. I'm gonna have to do a different video for my language learning update, because I actually do have stuff to share, but I'm going to put that over in a different video in a couple of days from now, because I want to get a little more progress with my new stuff, which was Taylor influenced, by the way, because she reminded me of something as I was editing her podcast. But for now, I just want to let this one sit by itself and to Taylor have her day. So please go over and have a listen to her episode. I think you'll really, really like it. Should I twirl one more time? Okay, you ready? You ready? Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the episode, and I hope to hear from you soon. And of course, if you have a language learning story, at this point we're just focusing on Mandarin Chinese. It doesn't matter if you're a native speaker or if you learned it later on in life. I interview both types of folks. I interview anybody who's had exposure and usage of Mandarin Chinese. So contact me and we'll get you on the podcast. 再见。